And now I'm back in here, Lost Bastille. I actually never noticed that this room has no roof in it. Well, I should tell you something about how good shape things are in Drang Lake. They were about as bad in Lordran, but I say almost just as dilapidated. And yeah, time to continue to Lost Bastille, Lost Prison, or however you want to call it, Bastille Key. What that opens, I don't know. Royal Swordsman gloves. Oh yeah, those are those Royal Swordsmen. Why exactly are they called Royal, I don't know, but why they are called Swordsmen, that is very easy to find out. They carry swords. Oh, that's a big sound. What makes it? Where are they? That's foreshadowing, if anything. And that is... well, that's a art form in a movie or in any narrative form. Foreshadowing is an art form. You should not make it so too blatant so that there's no actual surprise in it, but you also should not make things appear out of nowhere. And what's behind this door? Oh, nothing. Just a collapse. That kind of little details are those which really make this game, or they make Dark Souls work. Things they make. Well, it's just been a wall. There's simply no sense on that structure. It was just a door which opens to a wall. Well, nothing excessively bizarre on that, but then it just had no... it wasn't any that kind of structure which had sometimes led to somewhere which had then collapsed down. It was just a doorway leading to nowhere without any sort of rhyme, reason or purpose. And so sorry for being rude, but I don't want you to wake up while I'm around here and attacking me. Time to open this door as well. This was not meant to be an obstacle, at least to me. It was meant to be obstacle to whatever is there. And there's lots of these explodey dudes around here, but luckily they're just standing around being stupid and dying a lot. Let's have a this is actually very important, dude. Oh, he doesn't look too good. And he walks away from that.
Still a bit stiff, I'm afraid.
He has nice robes and a mask.
I must thank you, young traveler.
I'm not young, I got white beard and I'm rotting.
Strayed, a wandering sorcerer of sorts. I've been a guest for a very long time, but I don't think that anybody will miss me.
Oh, what did you mean?
Mm-hmm. Very good indeed. Cursed one, weak you may be, but I, Strayed, will teach you my spells.
What's the gesture he teaches? Mockery, and from him you can buy stuff, including actually quite handy ring, a gape ring, and a bunch of spells. No, I think I'm gonna get buy this Pyromancy of Lingering Flame. And on whale, just because, hey, to get a trophy you must get all spells, so let's chat more.
How long was I sat petrified?
Long.
Long enough for the old kingdom to have crumbled, I see.
Well, it's probably that stone is probably something very strong and durable. Of course it was probably sheltered from elements.
Drang Lake. I've never heard the name. Is that what they call this place now?
Actually, they called this place Drang Lake. Oh, he's really amused.
The cursed ones were imprisoned within this land. Of course, you came of your own free will.
Free or free, I don't know how free.
The people fear the cursed ones like a plague.
Well, that applies also to the Lordran.
Rather keep dreadful things out of sight, out of mind.
Well, that's not so
In
fine.
the end, they swept them up and corralled them here.
Not friendly.
So very typical of meek minds, don't you think?
Well, I'll be going.
Do you really think?
So in Drang Lake they did the similar thing than in Lordran or whatever, the first land, which is never named, which had the Undead Asylum in it. And for what the purpose of this room? Oh, there's something. Stuff. And you can actually bypass the gate, which is actually easier to open than the way to bypass it. Really weird. But there's another of these swordsmen. So, but still, yeah. In Drang Lake, I would say the curse of undead, which means people don't die even if you kill them by age, I assume, and by not dying, being killed either. Well, it started to happen, and eventually people went crazy. In Lordran, those who were recognized as cursed were put to the asylum, until of course one escaped. And there's the Age of Fire, perpetuated by the Gwyn, or the kiln of the first flame, I should say, being that the undead become kindling to that, ignite it, keep it burning. And Drang Lake is not actually, you could say it is not the actual. Oh shit! Gargoyles. Oh, now I know what made that sound. But the basic idea is still that the undead are not so keenly liked, mostly because eventually they go crazy. And they are put eventually to some sort of places, although probably everybody has become more or less undead, and it just varies how long can you skirt around avoiding going craziness, or you could call it the inevitable craziness which follows being undead. But in, well, Drang Lake is something like probably a place for myth, that way you can find a cure or solution for this becoming crazy of undead. meaning the hollowing part. And of course the bearer of the curse is quite willing to get that solved. He's got no interest of... Oh shit. And another one of these, that guy. But he just doesn't seem to fit through the corridor, which makes this easier. And like in any other, like in Dark Souls 1, if you have a method to cheat something dead, do it, because the game itself wants to cheese you dead, so there's no politeness in this. Although in the Scholar of the First Sin, which this is the version, they added lots of scripts to these monsters, just like that with this one, that it just doesn't try to attack you through the corridor. It starts to back away if you do what I'm doing right now. Although it still doesn't prevent you from just keeping it up. There's more of those quite smarter ambushes, enemies running away, and all that kind of things, which make usually play quite well against quite regular methods of playing Dark Souls game, which is usually or better say, at least in my case, it is approach carefully and kill everything you see. Or kill every enemy you see, not everything you see. That isn't quite productive. Usually in Dark Souls it's better to let things live. Or at least when it's a matter of characters. Because hey, you may get something nice trinkets out of them, you might get some, well, handy stuff. You could say it's a good investment to let things live in Dark Souls. You're dead. You're dead because I don't like your kind of things just exploding themselves to bits for no reason, and with exploration of being annoying by exploding. They're just completely disproportionately durable. I would say not durable, disproportionately strong offensively. They just maybe one might not get one boom, but two booms might be enough. And here's one of those Heidek Knights, but he's not attacking me, so I'm not attacking him. Peaceful, yes. And for some reason I don't have an opportunity not to even bother going downstairs, mostly because going down the stairways leads to an impressively unpleasant thing, ambush. I think I'm gonna show you that just after I have opened all these doors, just because, hey, open this and get the hell out of dodge. And there was already the first kaboomy. Yep. Fast and dangerous ambush of suicide bombers, which are not suicide bombers, as in they don't explode. Soul of Proud Knight and Pharaoh's Lockstone, those are always useful. Especially the Pharaoh's Stones, as in they do have need. Or say they have long-term use. Now it's time to... Flame Butterfly. Handy object which allows you to light torch without sconces or bonfire. I think to say in the first Dark Souls there was no torch which could be used like this. And of course in this one you have to collect torches so you can get time to burn it. I have about almost 100 minutes of worth of burning time, and you usually don't need your torch much, meaning it ain't so much of an issue. I'm going to check this door and open it, open Bastille key, and this is a method you can actually use to make a boss monster much easier, and which I'm gonna handy stuff. And there's the boss, but I think I'm gonna come back a bit later, which for you is instantaneously. And being prepared for battle, mostly by just calling for aid, by from Lucati of Mira. Yes, that's because I'm a cowardly scrib. Now it's time to go and face whatever here lies. Red blaze. And a masked thing with a bug going in eye socket. And shackles. But it's still got a sword in it. The Lost Sinner. And this is a sort of gigantic prison cell filled with scribblings on the wall, chains on the to keep the prisoner bound in place. And this would be much more, well, this, like any other Dark Souls boss, it is not something you can just fight and throw yourself at and hope that you survive, because every boss in Dark Souls is a dangerous one. Even those meant to be starter bosses are dangerous, and they just get more and more dangerous with the series. Although the general level design and gameplay, in a sense, remains more or less quite similar by general difficulty sense, and thus the Lost Sinner is defeated, and with it I gain the great soul of the Lost Sinner. And you must, like in Dark Souls 1, you must get powerful souls, but this time you are not specially demanded to fill a Lord vessel with it. You just need to gather them, and that was one of the first. That was one of them, and now I got the one more fragrant branch of yore, and here's a bonfire, primal bonfire, which is, well, it's a fancy way to saying it can, that it teleports me back to Majula. just as I said, I am back at Majula after gaining the big soul, and let's have a chat with Emerald Herald.
You have acquired the soul of an old one.
Yep.
That is more than most undead can say.
So yeah, I think I'm gonna next place I think I'm gonna wander is that poisonous, or was it Harvest Valley? Harvest Valley. The toxic sludge hellhole of the Dark Souls 2, but not even nearly as bad as Blighttown was. Or better say, not all of Blighttown, but the bottom of the Blighttown, which was nothing but a poison swamp. And of course the basic Blighttown, it had those real annoying asshole things which shot those toxic arrows at you and were horrendously dangerous. But in here you could say that the toxic sludge is much less prevalent, and that green haze, well, it's perilous, yes, but you can also see it that it's there, so, and you usually don't have to get through it a lot, which makes this place much less annoying. And that's a big structure ahead, and seeing where this Harvest Valley is leading, you could say that the internal geology of Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls, hell, every Dark Souls makes no sense at all once you start to actually, well, pay any attention to it. You notice that it just makes no sense at all. But those scantily clad female, they spew fire at you. Very powerful fire attacks. But luckily they also squishy. And it's time to open this bonfire as well, light it up, and actually switch to wear a nice helmet. Yup, and a bug is dead. Yeah, you must kill those things, and unlike Dark Souls 1, you must also gather their remnants. And behind that wall, an enemy, big one. But luckily its moves are about as easily telegraphed as, well, hard to say what is very easily telegraphed. But when you hit that hard, you don't need any kind of, you know, if you have massive speed in addition to that kind of amount of brutish power, great for you. Bad for anybody else who has to pick a fight against you. And in this Scholar of the First Sin edition, they are much more smarter about the fireballs or whatever dark magic balls, because now they can shoot them in the directions, not just in the horizontal direction, which would mean that you were upper or lower, they couldn't just do anything. And some treasure and this stuff. And there's a metal chest there, but I'm not gonna go bother, mostly because despite most of this stuff you can find in is not in a sense mandatory, at least when it's a matter of weaponry and armor. Which is really good. Of course there are better weapons, there are worse weapons, and of course, but you can usually you can upgrade weapons and whatever end game or DLC source greatsword might not be a weapon better than the whatever other weapon you've been using if you haven't upgraded your old weapon or anything else like that. And those guys, slow, but that hammer packs a punch. And being bombarded by fireballs again from up. And luckily those dudes are also very easily telegraphing their attacks. But then again, when you have that kind of hammering tool, you don't need much of fancy maneuverings. And he just runs through the jars which contain poison stuff, and he's not immune to poison attack. He's unlucky. He gets killed. And these guys, I remember what they were, but they were quite pain. And that guy too, not smart enough to avoid poison sludge. So I just made him kill himself. Not by any other reason than just to spite him. To be an ass. To be obnoxious to him. Come on dude, keep running through those jars. Thank you, opening our path. Path of your own death. No, I think that must have been a painful death. I really don't know. I actually have a little theory why they in this one made poison so much more potent, and probably say more fast acting, is that they probably wanted it to really have a effect on you, not just be a negligible drain of your hit points easily overcome by, well, anything. In this they wanted that if you get poisoned you are in a real peril of death and pain, so you have to get it over quickly. But there's also the fact that luckily the poison doesn't last so long. And it's time to go and face a boss monster. Covetous demon. A big ugly slug thing. Dark Souls usually doesn't always have, you know, they are monsters. You face monsters because they are there. There must be some sort of gating and that kind of stuff, gameplay wise things. But generally you could say that this thing is here just because they wanted to put some sort of boss monster here, and thus it came here. Nothing fancy about that thing, just a slug-like or whatever big thing. And luckily, unlike Dark Souls 1, you don't have to try any fancy maneuvers to remove enemy monster tails to get fancy stuff, although that by this thing you might think that it would happen. Smash his tail and get... But yeah, Covetous Demon is quite much of a joke. In Dark Souls standard it's still quite dangerous foe, but in Dark Souls standards it's a joke. And bonfire again, and now I'm gonna take a rest. Just a quick power nap style rest to find a checkpoint. And now it's coming up. You could say that this place is now a bit up in the challenge is coming up, and things tend to drop real fast. Not cinematic floatiness. Nope, just very quick and brutal travel to unknown Oh. Backhammer. We probably had a bad back. And there's lots of enemies and quite much of these narrow pathways and that kind of things in here. And actually, well, you can't say it to be a... Well, actually I can say that this place has a boss that you can fight it two ways. The easy way or the hard way. And the hard way is a really hard one, mostly because you lose your health all the time and it does not. So it really tells you that, oh, you actually want to... Oh, that was actually one of those few times I actually use some sort of status healing object. Oh, and there were these Scarlet, some character I can call to aid me. But it ain't so necessary, I know this place quite well. Yeah, these are not blind playthroughs at all. What are you lurking there? Didn't anybody told you that's rude? Lurk. Pike. That's a weapon. Very long spear used against cavalry. In Dark Souls it's just a handy spear. But in this place has poison attacks. And of course these weird ass whatever head, small head, no head things, which also cause you trouble and are generally not so pleasant thing to do. And of course these knights with spears, quite dangerous, but nothing too but nothing impossibly dangerous. And this mist door was here just to spook you. And now I'm gonna do something which is done by not hardcore folks, which is me. First you light up your torch, and there's this impressive looking windmill thing, and hey, look at that, prompt to set it on like. And windmill burns down. And thus the machinery it uses grinds down. And once that happens, it goes like that. Oh shit. That's also an event which would appears in this version that the enemy goes away and hammers that door down, blocking your way, making a bit. It just being, you could say that, just slight amount of obnoxiousness from the enemy style. Gameplay wise, it's just bars a little alternate path, which I'm now going mostly just to blaze through this place. Mostly because this... I can't remember what is this place even called. Well, after the Harvest Valley is... Well, it's a place that I almost poisoned as well. Well, this place is not one of my favorite places of Dark Souls 2. Mostly because this is just so drab and dull and bleak and in a sense boring as well. There's nothing really fancy or complicated in here. Just Oh, and a dude would just decide to... Oh, the knight decided to smash poison jars. Meaning he's in the throes of death. Like now. And behind those jars lies handy stuff. But I must use the long spear to open the secret pathway. And hey lady, were you the one bombing downstairs, down to the Harvest Valley? Oh yeah, she probably was. Well, I hope she now quits. And of course, it probably has become already obvious that in Dark Souls 2 there's multiple tiers of ring. There's Covetous Ring 1, there's a just Covetous Ring, then there's Covetous Ring 1 and 2 in the basic version, and with DLCs it also in some cases goes to 3, or you could say that some other work like so. It's some cases it's so that the basic version has just a normal ring, and DLC adds +1 version using those very powerful and many useful rings. Yes, and like he's got an axe spear that he's gonna use, and poison stones. And upstairs here is some handy things, although now it is not so necessary find handy. But there's a bonfire here as well up here, and I'm gonna open. Petrified something. Those are actually things that you're gonna give to those weird birdie things. Now is the bonfire, just to make it a bit faster to get to the boss. And now just jump down. And Chester Thomas, a summon. And he is nothing short of a monster. He's carrying wearing a silly hat, and he has 2 fists of fire. And now time to go and face the boss, which would be horror without using of the fire, but with using the fire is not much. A headless Medusa-like, which is headless. And you can see that Chester Thomas is blasting out pyromancies quite strongly and doing huge chunks of damage to Nitha, Painful Queen. I really don't remember what's... Well, there's a thing that she's supposed to be some kind of queen or something, and eventually she became poisonous, and the poison downstairs or Harvest Valley is pumped up here. I don't know why. Does she pump it up, or is it pumped to keep her here? But Chester Thomas, a very powerful pyromancer, and made this boss fight a joke. Although in Dark Souls you can never say anything to be a complete joke. Mostly because I used summon help and went to prepared with that opening of the wells. But first time I fought against that, and I didn't know that you can drain the poison from that room. It was a horrifying slog to failure again and again and again and again, many times. Then I figured out that hey, there's a bit way to cheese it, and in Dark Souls it's always that if there's a method to cheese something to death, you take it. It's not gonna mock you for doing that. Iron key. This is actually, you went up to some kind of sunken hot hell like place. But bonfires again, and there's knights armed with katanas. That's really, you could say, jarring combination. Western style armor knights which are armed with katanas. We should say those Japanese. And the computer controlled dark spirit just showed up. I actually don't want to fight against him like that, so I'm gonna do a thing called controlled suicide. Hello, bully bully. I drowned myself and I'll be returning here and destroying him off screen. That was done. What was it? That was simple. Not in the sense that it was excessively easy, but in the sense that luckily those computer controlled invaders are stupid in that they don't actually notice that, hey, I've actually been poisoned, meaning I am dying quite slowly. So that makes it a bit more convenient to fight against them with poison, of course. But from all the fantastical armors and equipment and all that kind of thingamajiggery of Dark Souls individual games and whole series, but those knights with katanas are actually, what is they called, Alonne knights, are, I'd say, one of the best looking ones, as in that that armor is just so simple. It's nothing excessively ornate or too fancy with trickery. But let's have a chat with this guy.
What? Who are you?
Well, I'm a guy with a sword.
Who, me? I'm Macarold. Who else?
Well, you're a guy.
What? Have a look at my wares.
So, oh. Well, I will buy items. And Chester's gloves. These are a very handy object. You can buy these and you wear them and you get extra souls just wearing them. And that's real nice thing. And he also sells branch of yore and all these Chester containers. Well, I'm not gonna, and some magics as well, but now I'm gonna just have a, actually no, I'm gonna buy Darkstorm from him and Darkhail as well, just because, hey, and let's have a more talk with him.
You're a treasure hunter, you see. When you're a merchant on the side.
Oh, what?
A room about, looking for a find, following me instincts.
Oh,
I don't care what a thing's worth. What matters is whether it grabs me.
so you search for nice things.
Well, that's a good question. I suppose I must. I've been doing it for ages.
That doesn't mean you enjoy it. What?
There's good iron in these parts. An old king even used it to build a castle. But the thing was too heavy. It slowly sank into the ground.
Oh, like the swamp castle.
Excited from the earth, and the place turned into this.
Oh, well, that one didn't.
That's what I've been told. A bad story, eh?
Well, yeah, it's not a bad story.
Anything for you today?
Well, nothing anymore. But still, somebody would go and cast a lot of iron. Cast it. Cast iron, cast a lot. Weirder things there is, but it's so heavy that it sank to the ground and fires came. But that should mean that eventually it would have been, the heat should have made it softer and it would have just lost its shape and broke down. And that thing spews fire, but you can use fire resistant gear or dip yourself in water to get yourself through that. So I guess it's time to actually go and start exploring this place next time. I'll see you then. See ya.